So we have three transportation items that I'd like to begin with. The first, let's begin with Governor Hogan's proposal. So let's agree that congestion relief is one of our county's highest priorities. No one will debate that. But how you do it does matter. We need strategic, focused investments in certain roads and certainly in transit. So while it is good that the governor finally got off the sidelines and into the game, it's like this idea sprung from the mind of Zeus without any collaboration, without any conversation with the communities most impacted and most affected. Bigger is not always better. Let me give you a couple of examples. We don't need and should not pay for 4 lanes on 270. This is a road that is totally peak driven. The morning commute, the evening rush. Anybody that's driven that road sees how when you come in the morning from north to south, if you're driving north, you have open lanes. That is why our council years ago said what we need is 2 reversible lanes, okay? So that we address the peak needs. Paying for 4 lanes through tolls is going to unnecessarily burden drivers with higher tolls than they would otherwise have to pay, and also promote sprawl that we do not need. So getting it right does matter. Let me give you another example. The notion of 4 lanes on the Beltway. Anyone who has driven the Beltway understands we don't have the capacity for 4 lanes unless you are going to take scores of homes and maybe even Holy Cross Hospital, all right, and Parkland. So I drive that road almost every day. I challenge you to see where we could fit 4 lanes on the Beltway. Point number 3, what about the American Legion Bridge? His proposal says, I will take you to the American Legion Bridge, 4 lanes to the American Legion Bridge, but doesn't say over the American Legion Bridge. This is the most significant choke point in our entire region. You cannot add capacity along the way and then still have the American Legion Bridge the way it is. So we really need to understand what the governor's thinking is with respect to the American Legion Bridge, because without that being a critical part of this proposal, you're going to make a terrible situation even worse. And then where's the transit component with respect to this? One of our county's top priorities has been the CCT. We've had to beg to get the governor to put in just a few dollars to keep that project alive. He's proposed express toll lanes, but not hot lanes. There is a difference. What we want to promote with our 2-lane reversible proposal on 270 was to make sure that high occupancy vehicles, carpools, buses get the full benefit of the added capacity. So express lanes doesn't do that. I'm reminded of what other people have observed, which is roads are a 20th century solution. Transit is the 21st century solution. And I point you to Amazon's RFP. What is Amazon looking for? Is it looking for highways? I don't think so. It's looking for transit. What did Marriott leave a highway intersection for? To be close to transit. So if we want to attract the next generation of businesses, millennials, seniors, it is doubling down our investment in transit as well. It's not to say we do not need investment in critical road capacity. We do. But we need to do it the smart way, the right way. And I regret that the governor announced this in this manner, first of all, on one of the holiest days for Jews, so that people like myself could not possibly attend. I found it very peculiar, but really without any consultation. So my hope is going forward that the governor is open to having a serious conversation, because we agree congestion relief is needed, investment is needed. But it needs to be smart investment, efficient investment, investment that produces a 21st century solution. Transportation topic number 2. On Thursday, we will be having a Purple Line hearing before the Transportation, Infrastructure, Energy, and Environment Committee. We're going to try and move that downstairs into the main committee room so that all my colleagues and the public can attend. It is important to have that conversation, more important than ever, in order to make sure that everyone understands the rules of the game. Are there other rules that have changed that we don't know? What is the responsibility of the state? What is the responsibility of the concessionaire? What is the responsibility of the county? The county fundamentally is responsible for the new trail. So we need to hear from our county officials how we're going to ensure that the new trail is everything that the people have been promised. What about the construction activity? How is that going to take place? What notice is going to be given? How firm is the state going to be in ensuring that the concessionaire lives up to the terms of the deal, and make sure that the public now understands the deal that's in place today? Obviously, that deal was different than many of us thought was the case, at least with respect to the notification. I'm still awaiting a response to my inquiry as to what other terms, if any, have been changed. I am and have been a strong supporter of the Purple Line, and have done everything within my power to make sure we got to this place. And now I am going to be equally firm as a district council member in ensuring that the construction process is one that we can rely upon, that actually does minimize the impact on our communities. It's going to be terribly disruptive. It's already been disruptive to a number of small businesses in Silver Spring, and I have gone on public record as saying the state needs to step up to its responsibility to ensure that these small businesses are compensated in an appropriate manner, and have asked our state legislative people to advise me as to what pockets of dollars are available, and if there aren't available, to try and bring about legislation that would make them available. Because just as we at the county level, when we do a county project, we hear from our small businesses saying, I'm sorry. And in Wheaton, for example, we have heard from our small business community that the work we're doing in Wheaton, which we think is going to be a net plus, does have an impact on the small business community. And when it does, we created a fund and a means by which people could get loans and other financial compensation to make sure that they survive this construction process. And I don't see why there should be anything less at the state level. So we will be having those kinds of conversations on Thursday with our concessionaire, with our MTA officials, and with our county officials. On Tuesday, we get to peek into the future with autonomous vehicles and the impact that autonomous vehicles will have. We will have a full session before our full council on what some people believe is transformative on the scale of the Industrial Revolution. People speak in those terms when it comes to autonomous vehicles. And so we are going to hear from leading experts in the country with respect to the impact of autonomous vehicles and how that will change how we do our work. It's been interesting to talk about parking in the context of autonomous vehicles, because you can imagine a context in which now the demand for parking changes exponentially, because you're going to have your car, you say to your car, I need you at 4. Go back home, rest, or be with somebody else, or whatever we say to our autonomous vehicles. I assume it'll be like Siri. You'll develop a personal relationship with your automobile. But it is going to be a very big deal, and it's happening quickly. So I'm pleased that we will be having that conversation to help all of us get our minds around that transformative opportunity. Last week I added to our agenda the gang prevention supplemental that the county executive sent over. I added it to the agenda because it's something that I know all of my colleagues feel strongly about, that we need to act on as soon as possible. So I did not want an additional week to go by without our taking this matter up, getting a public hearing scheduled so that we could act on the same day. This is something that obviously all of us feel we must deal with and must provide our police and our state's attorney with the resources they say they need. And if they end up needing more resources, then my belief is that our council will provide them with the resources they need to get a handle on this. Crime in our county really is not an issue. Even homicides generally are down in our county. This piece is not down. This piece is on the rise. This piece is not okay. And all of us know that, and all of us want to do whatever we have to do to make sure that our police and our state's attorneys have the resources they need in order to address this. We're spending something on the order of $25 million on trying to help youth have alternative ways in which to be supported other than through gangs. This is an international problem. This is not a Montgomery County problem. This is a situation where young members of our community are basically extorted, are basically told, if you don't join us, we may harm your loved ones back home. What does a 13-year-old do with that kind of information? So this is something that all of us care deeply about, and we want to support our police and our prosecutors to the max and do everything we can to stop this. Obviously pleased about the news with respect to Fox 5. I think it affirms once again how our county, particularly our urban nodes, are attractive to businesses. It follows on the heels of Marriott moving down to Bethesda, Fox 5 moving to Bethesda. We are sending the signal that Bethesda and our county, Silver Spring, Wheaton, we have urban nodes that are attractive to people that want to move, that their employers say to themselves, this is a vibrant place where I can work, where I can have wonderful meals, where I can get all my things done like dry cleaning, etc., and I don't need to get in my car to do it. And that is the key for most of these places. So I'm pleased about that. I am pleased that we're going to be working hard on the Amazon deal. Let's make no mistake about it. We are going to work hard to present to Amazon opportunities in our county that, quite frankly, I think are going to be serious contenders. And they should be. I think our Washington region is going to be a serious contender, and then within that region, I think our county is going to be well placed to be a serious contender. I worked hard at the Council of Governments to create a context in which our region works together. It appears as if the way in which that will play out is that each of us will append to our own submission a Council of Governments document that highlights just how strong the Washington region is, and that will be a plus for each of the jurisdictions that submit their applications. And I think that's appropriate. So I feel like we have a real opportunity here, and we're working hard to make that opportunity come about. Why don't I stop there and turn it over to you guys?
Since you bring up Amazon, the governor has said that Fort Covington would probably be the best place in Maryland. And he said it in Montgomery County. I just wonder if you had a reaction.
I disagree with the governor. I think Amazon ultimately would disagree with the governor. I think we ought to let Amazon make that choice. It is my hope that whatever incentive package, and it is not just my hope, it is my expectation, that whatever incentive package the state of Maryland provides for jurisdictions that are putting in a bid for Amazon, that we get treated equally, that there not be any discrimination in favor of any community. University of Maryland is going to be putting in a site. I hope the governor will provide the same incentive package to the University of Maryland as it does to Montgomery County, as it does to Baltimore. It is not for the state to decide where Amazon will go. I think it's Amazon that will decide. And we have a very strong option.
And can you just repeat what you said about kind of this regional approach? Because there are so many political leaders within Maryland, Virginia, and DC pushing for it in the area.
Yes. So when I was at the Council of Governments a couple of weeks ago, I made a motion to have our Council of Governments serve as the hub of all the applications and to explore whether or not we would actually submit one response to the RFP that would have 15 appendixes of each of the individual jurisdictions' submissions. At the end of the day, Northern Virginians, other jurisdictions got nervous about that approach as though it would prejudice them in some way. So now the default mode is that the Council of Governments will prepare, if you will, a overview of the strength of the Washington region, which each of us will append to our individual submissions. So it's in that way that I felt that all of us benefit by the strength of the Washington region. And actually, the truth is that all of us would benefit if, in fact, the region wins in this competition. Even if it weren't in Montgomery County, with 50,000 new jobs, I'm willing to roll the dice that we get a few of those people living in Montgomery County. Now, do we want it in Montgomery County? Absolutely, as each jurisdiction does. But our region will benefit, and when our region benefits, Montgomery County benefits as well.
What did the governor tell you before he made his announcement about the lanes on 270 and 495 and his expansion plans? Nothing?
We had no heads up, no communication whatsoever with respect to this massive proposal. And I don't get why the governor would go about his business in that manner, quite frankly. This is a huge issue. Huge. Massive. Okay? It's a huge issue. And we have the greatest stake in it, I think, of almost anybody. And so not to be in consultation, not to have a collaboration with respect to it, let's work on this together. That's my goal going forward. I get that this is his opening salvo, and I can't imagine that at the end of the day this is actually what happens. Okay? I can't imagine that they're going to take scores of homes, knock down hospitals, go over Rock Creek Parkway. Okay, really? Over Rock Creek Park? Really? You really think that this is going to happen? I don't think so. And if you are concerned at all about the tolls, you want to make sure that what you're doing is actually something that needs to be done and can be done. So it really does have to, it's going to need a lot of fine tuning, to say the least. And we really have to hear from them on the American Legion Bridge. Because if that isn't a fundamental part of the solution here, that our county and Fairfax County have raised their hand and said, we have to fix this. And it's the state of Maryland's bridge. Okay? I've been pushing the governor on this for years. So for this not to have been a prominent part of the announcement, to me, raises a serious question.
Secretary Ron also estimated that it would take about a year and a half for proposals for the lane expansions to come in. That would put it just after the November election.
Really? What a coincidence.
Do you think there's any political motivations at play?
I think it's just an incredible coincidence. So what I would say to you is this is way too important a subject to be political campaign fodder. We have real work to do here. And the people that live in Up County, they deserve relief. Okay? 270 needs more attention than the $100 million proposal that he floated some time ago. There's no question about that. In fact, this proposal affirms that more is necessary. But really, we don't need 4 lanes. We don't need to have people pay for 4 lanes. We don't need to create a context in which there's more sprawl by 4 lanes. We need 2 reversible lanes. That's not cheap. Let's make that happen. And what if you can get additional capacity on the Beltway, really, I'll be curious as to how much at the end of the day there is additional capacity on the Beltway.
On the purple line, obviously at this point, state project, Judge Leon ruled Friday night. For now, it goes forward. What is the Montgomery County role here? It's this, as people vandalize a bulldozer or whatever, who knows if that was kids or actually what they were doing, but what is the county role if you're getting briefed by the other people who are doing all the work?
No, and the county as well. So
But
there are three people, and so that is part of what the public conversation needs to be, to make clear what the county's role is. I have seen the county's role as being consultative. I've seen the county's role as being principally about the trail itself, which is our piece of this. We are paying for this, thank you very much. If we're paying for it, we better control exactly how it's built and if it's built to our specifications. And then it is in making sure that, again, being the watchdogs, okay? We need to make sure that the state and this concessionaire plays by the rules. So from my perspective, my job, County DOT's job, is to ensure that we bring to the state's attention and the concessionaire's attention any issue that we think is going the wrong way. So it's being the eyes on the ground, the ears on the ground. It is making sure that this is done right. And it's a massive project. And so everybody understands there's going to be dislocations, but there are right ways to do things and wrong ways to do things.
There's a public hearing tomorrow on minimum wage. So is there anything in this new bill that's been introduced that helps you get to 15, saying that you do want to get to 15? Is there anything in this bill that helps you get there?
I would say to you, I think that the county executive's letter provides a path forward for those of us that were concerned with respect to the impact on small business. I want to get to 15. This has always been about the pace at which we get to 15. It has never been about whether we should get to 15. It is about how quickly and for whom. So the county executive has embraced what was, if you will, the Minneapolis model, the last major jurisdiction to pass a minimum wage, which had those wages going into effect for large businesses in 22 and for small businesses in 24. That's exactly what the county executive sent over. So I am hopeful that the county executive's proposal will form the basis of a renewed effort to find common ground so that we can indeed get there. That's my goal and continues to be my goal.
Any date on when the consulting firm that did the study that the county commissioned, is there a date when they're going to come to the council?
There is not, because the county executive still has questions that he believes needs to be posed, and he hasn't gotten the answers to those questions. So as you appreciate, the consultant works for the county executive, not for the county council. And the county executive has not released the consultants until he's satisfied with the answers. And basically what I gather from the county executives, I don't know when that will be, quite frankly.
What do you make of the study, given that the consulting firm admitted to a mathematical error in the study? Do you see it as a credible study?
No.
Is it just because of that error?
Yes. I mean, it was a significant error. So I don't think any of us on the council at this point in time are putting a great deal of weight, if any, in that study. I think we are back to where we were before, which was our own sense and the testimony of the small business community and others who have come before us and said, this was what will happen to me if you do this too quickly. And we had enough businesses who came to us and said, we will lay people off or we will go bankrupt. I've had several people in my office who showed me their books and said, Councilmember Berliner, if you adopt it at this pace, I am out of business. I will lose my business. I will lose my home because I mortgaged my business with my home mortgage. So I take those kinds of conversations seriously, which is why I've always said that there are two truths here. It is true people work too hard for too little, and it is true that our small businesses would be negatively impacted. So the whole conversation is about reconciling those two truths and harmonizing those two truths to the best of our ability. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm hopeful that with the county executive's statements and his position as to what he would sign, that we can get there.
Have the consultants responded to the questions the council sent them?
Has not.
Is the council going to try to consider getting the money back that the county paid to them for this study?
I think that that is a question to pose to the county executive.
On the gang funding for the prosecutor's office and police, that's going to be this Tuesday, the first intro of that?
No, I actually modified the agenda last week
Okay.
to put
So
it
it
on
was
the,
intro
it was introduced last week.
So what's the next steps for that?
Next step is the public hearing, which will be held on, generally, I believe we have three weeks. So we need 3 weeks under our process for a public hearing, which is why I moved it up. I didn't want it to be 1 week longer than it had to be. And my prediction is the day we have the public hearing is the day we will act on it. Unanimously, I would predict.
Do you think this problem could be larger than the county knows about, given that we're turning up bodies that are decomposed, at least the one in Wheaton Regional Park and the body in Silver Spring, both were attributed by McCarthy to gang violence. Do we have a handle on the gang violence problem? Do we even know how large it is or where it's at?
So I think what we know is that it is at unacceptable levels. I don't know how much more we need to know in order to say to ourselves, we need to give our police and our state prosecutor all the resources they request to address this. And that is an open-ended invitation. If they need more resources, I am quite confident that my colleagues and I would support them. So neither you nor I are experts in these matters. I rely on our excellent police chief and our state's attorney to advise us as to what they need to make a dent in this. Anything else, gang?
Generally.
No, this is just for the press. I apologize. You can
talk
ask,
to you
you can ask me a question afterwards. And I think we're done. Thank you, guys.